Okay, good morning, one and all. This is the second session of today's lecture. This is actually lecture number 7. We will see we are actually in medium access and control related protocols. So there we have seen the three types of MAC, that is contention based MAC, contention based MAC with reservation, and contention based MAC with scheduling. And we have seen that contention based MAC with reservation and with scheduling can provide us quality of service. But the first type, contention based MAC simple, cannot provide quality of service, because there the path might break at any time because of mobility or dynamic nature of the network topology. So after that, we have found that the contention based MAC actually solves some problem of the very primitive type of data communication or data transmission protocol, which is called as CSMA. So in this slide, I'm actually telling what is CSMA, and what is the full form of CSMA is carrier sense multiple access. So what is meant by sensing of carrier? So carrier is actually the proxy for data, or carrier is proxy for transmission over any channel, because we first modulate the data by using carrier frequency, and then we transmit the data over channel. So if there is a sender, so as you can see the diagram here, so this is a sender node N1. So these are data packets, blue data packets. They are transmitted over link 1, link 2, link 3, link 4, link 5, and all the data packets are coming to the receiver R after a certain time. Okay. So all this N1, sorry, N2, N3, N4, N5, they are called as peer node or route node. This is red path because all the links are shown in red. This is just for your understanding. There is nothing called red path, but as all the links I have shown by color red, so I'm calling it as red path. And there is only one path, so through which sender N1 is transmitting data to the receiver. Again, I'm telling you, the sender node and N2 node, they are exactly same. Okay, so all the sender node N1, N2, they are all having sensors, they are all having microcontroller, memory, power unit, battery, some kind of global positioning or positioning related hardware in that, maybe some mobility unit in that, like wheels, or for flying there may be wings or something. Okay, so this N1, R, N5, N4, N3, N2, they are not different, but sender N1, it has sensed some data within its sensing range, and then it wants to send the data from N1 to R. Okay, so R can be called as N6 also, that is node 6. Okay, hence as this N1 wants to send the data to N6, we are terming this N1 as sender node, and we are terming this N6 node as receiver or R. Okay, so each node is having one ID. So sender node knows the ID of receiver R. So in its data packet, so in its data packet, it encodes the ID of the receiver where it wants to send all these data packets. So hence we know that receiver is this node R or N6, and sender node is N1. Now what is meant by carrier sense? Okay, sensing the carrier. So if there is a carrier, means there is a data with the carrier, that means transmission is going on. So when the N1 is sending data over this red path, that means anywhere in this link, if we tries to send, so if N3 during the transmission, if N3 tries to sense if there is a carrier here or if there is a data transmission, so there is a sensor in N3 which is sensing the carrier, so N3 will sense some kind of carrier presence in link 3. Okay, so if there is a data transmission going on, then only the sensors in the node will be able to sense that there is a carrier in the communication link. So communication link is nothing but air. Okay, or here in case of ad hoc wireless, it is air, or air is the channel or medium. So first, before transmission, the sender nodes or any node before forwarding tries to sense if there is already a carrier or data carrier or carrier frequency present in the air or not. So that is called as carrier sensing. So if the sensor of carrier in any sensor node finds that yes, carrier is present in the channel, means what? some path is involved in some kind of communication already. In that case, if the sender nodes tries to send the data, then there will be a collision of data in the channel or collision of data in the medium. That has to be avoided. So this is actually called as carrier sensing. So before sensing, before sending the data, you have to sense the carrier. You have to sense the media, whether any already existing carrier is there or not. If carrier is already existing, means data transmission is already taking place. Then what you have to do is, then the sender will back off. So there is a time for back off. So it can be a prefixed time or it can be a random time. So if the sender finds that there is already a carrier in the channel, that means data transmission is already taking place, it will wait for certain times. Why it will wait? Because immediately without sensing the carrier, if the sender sends the data over channel, already the carrier was existing, then there will be collision of data. Previous transmission will be hampered, present transmission also will not be completed. So instead of that, you just wait for certain time. Example is, it is like somebody is trying to put his car on a road and he is waiting at a T point. Okay, so there's a T point and it wants to take the road. So road is nothing but channel and cars are nothing but the data packets. So if you are finding there are a lot of cars, there are a huge amount of car, mobile car, which is already passing through the road. So what you do is you just wait for certain time till the path becomes empty. Once the path is empty, then only you start driving through that path. So the same example what we do in case of CSM. So before starting the data transmission, you have to wait for a certain time till the path becomes empty. So what I've written here, the sender node N1 has a lot of data, information, data packets for receiver R. So sender N1 knows the ID of receiver R. Hence, N1 first tries to sense if carrier is present in communication links connected to it. That is the link 1. Now sender node cannot check if there is carrier present in link 5. That is not possible because this sender node N1 can sense only a carrier if present or not in the links connected to it. So here with sender N1 only one link is there. So sender N1 will first sense if there is any carrier present in link N1. So that is what written. N1 first tries to sense if carrier is present in communication links connected to it. That is nothing but link 1. If no carrier frequency is sensed in link 1, there will not be any carrier because N1 has not started transmitting data, and link 1 is connected to only N1 and N2. N2 is not having any data, N2 is not transmitting, N1 is also not transmitting. So initially, if the sensors in N1 they try to sense if there is any carrier in link 1, then answer will be no, there is no carrier present in link 1. In that case only, N1 assumes that the path from N1 to R is clear. So N1 just checks if there is a link present in, if there is a carrier present in link 1. N1 finds link 1 is free. What it assumes is, so that assumption may be wrong, but it assumes that, okay, this link is free means my path from N1 to R is free. And what N1 will do is, it will put all the data packets on this link and it will start transmitting. So N1 assumes that path from N1 to R is clear. Why? Because link 1 is not having any carrier. And no data transmission is taking place through path 1, that is the red path. So as this link is clear, open, you are assuming that, or N1 is assuming that the whole path is clear. Then what happens? The N1 starts transmitting all the data through link 1. So from link 1, it will go to link 2, link 3, link 4, link 5, and it will go to the receiver. This is the easiest scenario. This is the ideal scenario. So what is the process of CSMA? This is one sender, one receiver, and this is a single path kind of a thing. What is meant by multipath? If there was another path from N1 to receiver R, that would have been a multipath, multi-hop CSMA communication. But in this case, there is only one path, that is a red path, and N1 first checks if there is any communication frequency in link 1. There is none. Then sender N1 puts all the data packets to N2 through N3, N4, N5, it goes to receiver R. So now N1 transmit data packets for receiver through link 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the data is transmitted. So this is mainly what is meant by carrier sense multiple access. This is a sensing range actually. So within this range, the sender N1 will sense if there is any kind of carrier present. If there is any carrier present within this range, then the sender N1 will wait. What is the time for waiting? It is called back off time. It can be random, it can be predefined. Okay. So this is called carrier sensing range. But there is a problem with CSMA, and why CSMA failed in wireless network. That's why we had to go for some different kind of protocol like MAC. Okay, so what is CSMA? CSMA is sender first senses if some carrier signal is already present in channel. If other carrier is present, sender waits for a random time. After the time, the sender senses carrier again in channel. If other carrier frequency is absent in channel, then only sender sends the packet over it. CSMA senses the status of the channel. So these are the problems why CSMA failed. So there's the first problem. CSMA senses the status of the channel only near the sender or transmitter. So I told you that this sensor, carrier sensor here in N1, it senses that if carrier is present here in link 1 or not. It does not sense whether there is carrier present in link 5 or not. So I have shown only one sender, one receiver, one path here. That's why this is a simple scenario. So I'll give you complicated scenario. There, this point will be understood better. CSMA senses status of the channel only near the sender or transmitter. In ad hoc wireless network, transmitter and receiver may not be near each other at all the time. So in this case, sender N1 and receiver, they are very close by. They are only 5 hop distance. So there may be cases in ad hoc network where sender N1 to receiver R may be having 20 hops. So in that case, the whole path might not be clear, though this path, link 1, may be clear. Okay, but other links might be having some carrier in that. So that is a misunderstanding the sender N1 is having. So if it is just checking link 1 is not having carrier, it transmits. So that fundamental is wrong. So that is what it is said. CSMA senses status of the channel only near the sender or transmitter. But in ad hoc network, it is not necessary that transmitter and receiver may be very close. Hence, CSMA will just check one link close to it and they will send the packet, and that packet will go to the further intermediate nodes, and the data packets might collide with some other transmission which is happening at the far corner of the network. So that is, it is saying, hence CSMA might create collision of data packets generated by other senders situated at far, which is not sensed at sender node N1. So that is what is said here. Hidden terminal problem. It is the CSMA does not take care of hidden terminal problem. So as a result, the transmission from hidden terminal disrupts the transmission. So what is hidden terminal? You don't know now. So I'll explain that hidden terminal and I'll tell you what is the problem that CSMA finds in case of hidden terminal. So it's a hidden terminal is a problem. Bandwidth utilization in CSMA is less because of exposed terminal problem. So these are two things, hidden terminal and exposed terminal. We will see that and then we will understand these 2 points. What is CSMA hidden terminal problem? What is CSMA exposed terminal problem? So we will see this 2 things at the end of, towards the end of this lecture. So at present, CSMA is having only one problem, that is, it is sensing the carrier only near to the channel. It is not sensing the carrier throughout the path, throughout the every link in the path. In another case, this is a multi-path, multi-hop kind of sense or case scene where the sender N1 is trying to send the packets from N1 to the receiver. So what happens? First, the sender N1 senses carrier at link 1 and link 6. Okay, so this is a carrier sensing range. Within that, sender is sensing packet carrier present at link 1 and link 6. And as there is only one sender and one receiver, If sender N1 has not started any kind of communication, there will not be any carrier in link 6. And link 1 also there will not be any carrier. So sender N1 first checks link 6, link 1, there is no carrier present. Sender 1 starts transmitting data packets over to N6 and to N2. There may be a scheduling kind of a thing. So for first 10 seconds data may be given to N6, next 10 seconds data will be given to N2, and again next 10 seconds data will be given to N6, again next 10 seconds data will be given to N2. So there will be a time division multiplexing kind of a thing. So there will not be any collision of data at the receiver. So for the first 10 seconds, the packets from N1 through N8 will be received by the receiver. Next 10 seconds, packet from sender N1 through N5 will be received by the receiver. Next 10 seconds, again N8 will be giving data to R. Next 10 seconds, N5 will be giving data to R. So though it is multi-path, multi-hop transmission with CSMA, but there will be no any collision of packet in the network. Okay, not near, not far of the network. So it is said that sender node N1 to receiver R has multipath propagation. So multipath means one sender, one receiver, many paths is there to reach from sender to the receiver. N1 senses the presence of carrier in link 1 and link 6. As there is only one sender and one receiver, when N1 is idle, so before sensing the carrier, N1 is not transmitting the data. That means N1 is idle. So when N1 is idle, no other carrier is present in the scene. So N1 finds that link 6 or path 2, link 1 or path 1, all are clear. There is no communication going on. Hence, N1 starts transmitting data packet through both these two paths after carrier sense, obviously with a time division multiplexing kind of a protocol. So no collision of data packet happens here, not in the path and not at the receiver if you are using time division multiplexing. If you are not using time division multiplexing, yes, there will be collision of data at the receiver side. So this is the second scenario. So previously I showed only one link. In this case I am showing two links, but with time division multiplexing. So no data collision occurs here. Third case, here there are two senders and here there is one receiver. Okay, so already we have seen this kind of a thing. That is, if there is a proper time division multiplexing, then there is no collision of data at the receiver. So sender N1 first checks link 1, checks for carrier if there is any carrier or not. So there is no carrier initially for sender 1, link 1. Then sender 2 N2 at the same time checks link 6 if there is any carrier. So sender 2 N2 finds that there is no carrier at link 6. So sender 2 then puts all the data packets on N6 for forwarding. At the same time, sender N1 also sends all the packets, yellow packets to N2 for forwarding. Okay, and at the receiver side, for N7 and N5, there is a time scheduling. That is, N7 will be connected to receiver for 10 seconds, N5 will be connected to receiver for another 10 seconds. So for first 10 seconds, sender N2 data will be received. For next 10 seconds, sender N1 data will be received. And again in the next 10-second time slot, sender N2 data will be received. And next 10-second slot, sender N1 data will be received. So this is what it is said. Sender N1 senses presence of carrier in link 1. Sender N2 senses presence of carrier in link 6. As no other carrier are sensed at these links, then N1 and N2 both sends data for receiver R. Collision of data packets happens at receiver R, okay, if there is no time scheduling, but with proper time scheduling, such data collision at receiver might be avoided. So we can have both yellow data and green data. So green data is sent by sender 2, yellow data is sent by sender 1. So both these data we can find at the receiver in proper time by proper time scheduling. So this is also a carrier sense multiple access. So this is a multi-sender, single receiver, multi-hop kind of a communication, but still there is no collision of data in this scenario or in this topology. Take the next type. What is the difference? Difference is I have connected this N4. So N4, N3, N5, they're all same kind of node. As a collision happens here, I have shown the symbol of collision. So there's a plus kind of a thing. So here I have kept an extra path. Okay, here I have generated a link between this black path and red path. Okay, so this green line is a link between N6 to N4. So this link enables sender N1 to send data to receiver through N4, N6, N7 and receiver. So actually this link in between enhancing the routing possibilities of this whole topology. Okay, so if there is no data transmission, just imagine this N4 is a simple node like N3. So there are two paths or there are two routes for data from N1 to R. What are the two routes? One is N2, N3, N4, N5 and receiver. Another is N1 to N2, N3, N4, N6, N7 and receiver. Okay, so these are two routes. Samely for sender N2, there are two routes to the receiver. One is N6, N7 and R. Another is N6, N4, N5 and R. So this green link actually is increasing the route possibilities of this network. So I have just enhanced a topology from the previous topological diagram which I have shown in the previous slide. But what happens in this case, check that if there is no proper scheduling mechanism. Okay, so CSMA without any kind of scheduling, what happens is this sender might think of sending the data through N6, N4, N5 and receiver. Samely, this sender also tries to send the data over N2, N3, N4, N5 and receiver. Because while sending, this sender only checks this link whether it is free or not. This sender only checks link 6 whether it is free or not. So when this sender is transmitting, it does not check whether link 1 is free or not. When sender N1 tries to send the data, it doesn't check link 6 is free or not, because link 6 is not within the carrier sense range of sender node N1. Samely, link 1 is not in the range of carrier sense range of sender N2. So N2 checks link 6 free, sends data over this route path. Okay, and sender N1 checks link 1 and it finds free. Sender N1 also sends all the yellow packets through N2, N3 and N4. And there occurs a collision, data packet collision from N1 and N2 at the node N4. Okay, this is actually the main problem in CSMA. So N1 and N2 sends carrier at link 1 and link 6 respectively, because carrier sense happens only near the sender. Okay, so for sender 2 it is link 6, for sender N1 it is link 1. And as other carriers are absent in these links, they send packet over these two links. At node N4, data packets from N1 and N2 collide and the whole communication process is disrupted. This is the main problem, or this is the main drawback of carrier sense multiple access based communication. That is, it is not sensing what is happening in the other path of the whole ad hoc wireless network. Okay. So a sender, before sending the data, should not only sense carrier near to it, but it should have a idea of overall network, what is happening and at which node. Then only data packet without collision is possible. So there is a very big problem in case of CSMA. This problem can be solved by MACA protocol. MACA is a protocol which can be used to solve this CSMA based data transmission collision problem. How it is? Okay, so what is a MACA protocol? MACA protocol is a medium access control protocol. It is actually solving the problem of CSMA. CSMA is very primitive kind of a protocol. Okay, so MACA does not sense carrier. So what exactly MACA does is, it does not sense carrier. It actually uses few signal or control packets. One packet is called as RTS, request to send. Another packet is called as CTS, or clear to send. First, the one sender node is there. A lot of data packets are there with that sender node. Whenever the sender node is ready to transmit the data, immediately it does not transmit the data. Instead of transmitting the data, first it sends RTS, request to send to the receiver where it wants to send the data. After the receiver, so if the path is free, the receiver receives this RTS. After receiving this RTS, the receiver sends back a clear to send packet to the transmitter. So first RTS goes from transmitter to the receiver. Upon receiving that RTS, CTS is sent from receiver to the transmitter back. So if sender wants to transmit data, it first transmit RTS to the receiver. Once the receiver receives the RTS signal, and if receiver is ready to receive data, so there are two things. Receiver is receiving RTS and receiver is ready. It is not busy in other paths. Okay, receiver is free. It has received request from the transmitter. Then receiver generates a CTS signal, that is clear to send, clear for the transmitter to send data over channel to this receiver. If the CTS signal is received by the sender without error, so direction of RTS and direction of CTS, they are reverse. RTS goes from transmitter to receiver, CTS goes from receiver to transmitter. So if the CTS signal is received by the sender without error, the sender then transmits data packet. So before transmitting data packet, there is a RTS CTS communication, and these are actually control overheads of the whole network. Okay, they are actually eating some of the bandwidth, but they are actually ensuring some operational safety for the data packets. So first RTS, then CTS. The receiver ID is embedded in the sent data packet. So then the data is sent from the transmitter to the receiver. Upon receiving the data from the sender and upon matching its ID in the data packet, the receiver transmits an acknowledgement or ACK packet for the sender. So first there is a RTS, then there is a CTS. After that, data transmission happens, and at the end of data transmission, when the receiver receives the data packet, it generates a acknowledgement packet for the sender. And that acknowledgement packet travels through all the intermediate nodes. It comes back to the transmitter. When the sender receives the acknowledgement packet transmitted by the receiver, one data transmission cycle for MACA gets over. So just to send the data, first RTS forward, then CTS signal backward, then data transmission forward, and then acknowledgement signal backward. This is the whole cycle of data transmission for MACA protocol, which is a first type of medium access and control protocol that we are studying. Same thing I have shown here, that is packet transmission in MACA. How it happens? Okay. So the first thing, data to be sent. So these blue things are data to be sent from the sender to the receiver. There are two intermediate nodes, N2 and N3. So first N1 sends RTS signal through the link. So just check the direction of this red links there from left to right. Okay. So from sender to the receiver, RTS signal is sent first. That means this sender is asking for data transmission permission to the receiver R, or sender N1 is asking R, can I send packet? Upon receiving that RTS, if receiver is free and if it can receive the data, if it's in a position in receiving the data, because there is a possibility that this receiver is connected to some other links which are some other part and receiver is busy. So in that case, the CTS signal will not be generated. Okay. But receiver is free, it can receive data from sender N1. So receiver then will generate a clear to send signal which will travel back. Check this direction, it is from right to left. Okay, so receiver produced CTS signal will travel back from right to left and will come to the sender N1 till data transmission has not taken place. Okay, so data is blue only. So first RTS from left to right, then CTS from right to left. Next case, the data transmission takes place. So the data transmission takes place next. So all the data are being transmitted packet one by the sender to the receiver. Okay, so now the data is going in the forward direction. Check the data direction, and within this data there are preambles. Within data there is the ID of this receiver. Data is there. There may be some check bit. There may be parity code. There may be some ending kind of bit or something. So data structure is something very big. We will see in some other protocol some structure of the packet data, how exactly it looks. But now data transmission is taking place. Sender N1 is sending data to the receiver and all the data are received. But the process does not stop here. Process is one step further because receiver now generates an acknowledgement. So this is the acknowledgement. This is also a control signal. This is also adding to the overhead. But yes, when acknowledgement is received at the sender side, sender understands that yes, all the packets are received at the receiver. So it is not only receiving the packet at the receiver, but acknowledgement from the receiver which comes to the sender, and now the sender knows that whatever data I wanted to send from N1 to receiver, that data are sent to the receiver, received by the receiver, and receiver has acknowledged it. Certain time it might happen that N1 has sent the data to the receiver, data is received by the receiver, receiver sends the acknowledgement, but because of dynamic mobile nature of the topology, the acknowledgement signal is lost. This might happen. Data transmission has taken place, N1 has sent the data to the receiver, but the acknowledgement signal from receiver to the transmitter or sender is lost. So though sender has done its job, though the job is done, but sender does not get a confirmation. In that case, what happens? In that case, sender waits for certain time and it again sends the data packet to the receiver, because now in this time RTS CTS is not required, because it knows that yes, the RTS CTS thing is done, pair is formed between N1 and R. Now let me again send the data from my side to the receiver side. Okay, so it just takes another chance. So once or twice or thrice it tries to send the data to the receiver, and one acknowledgement it receives with timestamping. It understands that whatever data I had sent, that has been received by the receiver. So this is actually the packet transmission in case of MACA or MACA kind of protocol, which is actually a MAC protocol, most primitive kind of a MAC protocol. Okay, so here there is no carrier sensing. Here there are certain overheads. So RTS, CTS, acknowledgement, these are all overheads. These are eating some of the bandwidth, but they're ensuring that sender and receiver both are in a situation to understand and know whether data transmission has taken place properly and whether data from N1 has been received by R, and everybody is in a sync. Everybody comes to know what is happening. Everybody knows when the process starts, and all the intermediate nodes N1 and R, they know that yes, data transmission has taken place and the packet of data has been sent properly from N1 to R. This is actually the advantage of MACA kind of a transmission. So this was some of the things that was the how exactly the packet transmission takes place. Now there are two more problems in case of CSMA. One is hidden terminal and another is the exposed terminal. So what is meant by hidden terminal and exposed terminal?